Mr. Goat, guess what? Guess who's number one again? This guy. Oh boy, do we have an exciting show for you today. Of course I got my hands on one of these. Guess who sent it to me? It's from who we affectionately refer to as Ga and Poppy. Hope you enjoy this magazine. Love, Poppy. Remember, we were in Florida. Thanks, Poppy. Go back to the video from right after John Isner won in Miami. If you don't know what I'm talking about, today on Coffee Break Tennis, Rafa Nadal is done in Madrid. Who has he lost to? Of course, it's Domino's Thiem again. And we've got some exciting stories for you. Like, for instance, this headline, Rafa throws shade after loss to Dominic Thiem. We've got the red hot expert who thinks that Rafa is due for an upset at the French this year. We've got John McEnroe offered $1 million to play against Serena Williams.
$1 million.
Somewhat interesting story there. And also, of course, the new number one. The old number one. He's back. The oldest number one. Roger Federer. This is Coffee Break Tennis, the fastest growing, most exciting, most talked about tennis talk show in the world. The place where the smartest tennis fans come to gather, to talk, to discuss, to debate, and to raise the tennis IQ. The tennis IQ never stops rising here at Coffee Break Tennis. Let's get into it. Hey, Mr. Goat, you want some of this? No? Yes, we do celebrate the return of Roger Federer to the top with a nice bottle of Pellegrino and, of course, a nice cup of coffee. By the way, I don't know, this show might be like an hour long because we've got lots of interesting comments that I selected from the last video. Always comment below if you enjoy the show. Of course, give us a thumbs up or touch volley it. You can also smash the subscribe button. We do enjoy that very much here at Coffee Break Tennis. We got lots of articles, we got lots of comments, and we've got the draw. I've even got some highlights. We'll try to squeeze everything in here today, but bear with me, folks. It's tough to do. We go to the Metro UK. This is by George Belshaw. Of course, it's what I led the program off with in our opening tease. Rafa Nadal throws shade at Dominic Thiem after Madrid Open exit. A little different than what I said. Rafa Nadal warned Dominic Thiem, of course from Österreich, that he still has work to do if he's to be considered a seriously tough opponent for him on clay and to not get too carried away after his surprise win at the Madrid Open. By the way, I got a lot of great stuff from Ollie. Ollie just blew me up on the Twitters today. You can too by following me at Coffee Break 10s, TENS, like the number 10. You can blow me up too, just like Ollie did today, but Ollie blew me up with a ton of great information. And one of the lines, the translation from Spanish, a little different than the one in here. You know, they're in Madrid, which is in España, right? Spain. For those of you who don't speak Spanish, it's España as it means Spain. So everything's in Spanish over there in the press conference for the most part. Very, very little English. And the translation in here is a little different than what I got from Ollie, and I think the one from Ollie makes more sense. But let's finish this, and then we'll look at the stuff from Ollie. And then we'll go back to the articles. Then we'll look at the highlights. I don't even know what order we're going to do all this in today. We'll see. After the match, Nadal was quizzed over whether Thiem was one of his more dangerous opponents to face on clay. But the Spaniard pointed out that he destroyed him in Monte Carlo just weeks ago and insists that Thiem needs to find more consistency if he's to be considered a truly tough opponent. So the quote they have here is Rafa saying, 3 weeks ago, I beat him, Dominic Thiem, 6-0, 6-2. I don't know if that's a tough player or not. But what we have from Ollie, a little bit different. Let's go to the computer. Mr. Goat, fire up the computer at once! Mr. Goat's very angry because Mr. Goat often picks news stories and articles from outside of the world of tennis and says, we should highlight this today. This is good stuff. By the way, Mr. Goat, for those of you who are new to the show, he's much like Chewbacca. You can't understand what he's saying, but I can, and Han Solo can. So luckily I'm here, an expert in cats and all things cats, to translate Mr. Goat's words for you. Of course, Mr. Goat, talking tennis cat, that I translate for. So Mr. Goat had two fascinating articles to him from the world of news today, but we're not going to go with them because we don't have the time. We're fully loaded today, Mr. Goat. Like I said, he's very upset. So here's the translation that Ollie got. Question, is Dominic Thiem the player who knows best how to beat you? Rafa, 2 weeks ago, I won 6-0, 6-2 in Monte Carlo. I don't know if that means he knows best how to beat me. Today he was better and won. 2 weeks ago, I was better and I won. So do with that what you will. That is, of course, up against this translation. 3 weeks ago, I beat him 6-0, 6-2. I don't know if that's a tough player or not. So I don't know if that's a tough player. It sounds more like a shade throw, a dig, as we would say. It sounds more like he's throwing the shade in that one. This one, 2 weeks ago, I won 6-0, 6-2 in Monte Carlo. I don't know if that means he knows best how to beat me. That sounds much more like Rafa to me. So, hey, if anyone knows better than me, of course, always comment below. I do my best to go through all the comments, and today we have a lot of great comments that I went through. So, of course, going on with the caveat that we don't know if this translation is good, we'll read the final quote from this article. Mr. George Belshaw doesn't speak Spanish. If he beats me 3 times in a row, maybe we can say he reads my game. He can beat me today. He is better than me. That's all. So there you go. Try to raise my eyebrow like Rafa. If you trust George Bellshaw's translation, that's how Rafa wrapped it up today, and that does sound a lot like Rafa to me. Dominic Domino's team from Österreich, of course, he threw in this. I think it was playing a little bit better today than in Monte Carlo. Of course, it's great conditions here for me in Madrid. Remember, a lot of the players, team, one of them, Grigor Dimitrov, who's not here anymore. I mean, not in this tournament anymore. He's probably in Rome or on his way or getting ready to be on his way. They said, this court plays a little faster. It's a little easier to beat Rafa. Mr. Go! It's a little easier to beat Rafa on this surface. So, of course, following with that theme, it's great conditions here for me in Madrid, says Dominic Thiem.
Super, super happy, of course.
Joining Dominic Thiem in the Final Four in Madrid, Kevin Anderson came over Dusan Lajovic, the one-handed Serbian who we all got to know last year at Wimbledon when Roger had an interesting match with him in the first round or second round at Wimbledon last year. And, of course, El Chapo, who we're also excited about. Right now, Alexander Zverev, he's up a set, 1-all in the second set against John Isner. I'd have to say, even though John Isner won in 3 sets last time, I don't know if I see the guy who's not as good of a mover coming through after already dropping the first set. So let's just go ahead and say Sasha Zverev is probably going to be the person playing Shapovalov in the semifinals. And then Dominic Thiem, his reward, Kevin Anderson, who amazingly was 0 for 10 in quarterfinals, and this time he breaks through and gets into his first semifinal. Anderson said, I've said for many years, I've really enjoyed playing on the clay. Obviously, the movement's a little bit tougher, but I think the surface suits my game nicely. Ball kicks up more, helps my serve, gives me more time from the baseline. A lot of these big guys like Delpo, like Isner and Zverev, they do have some advantages. We all think about that, 2011 French Open first round, John Isner, Rafa Nadal, and Rafa wins in 5 sets. The ball bounces higher, the ball moves slower, so that's a slight advantage for these big guys. They got more time to hit their shots, more time to get in position with their big, giant, cumbersome bodies. So before we go to the highlights of the match, in case you didn't see it, that last bit brings me to not the bit about the giant, cumbersome tennis bodies moving around the clay and having a chance because of the slower, higher bouncing ball. The bit about Dominic Thiem and Rafa Nadal, let's get back to that. Rafa, you could tell if you watch this match from the very first game that his ball was not going as deep as Dominic Thiem. Dominic Thiem is just hitting better depth. Tennis Channel threw up a graphic showing how Dominic Thiem was taking the ball from, on the serve return, 3 feet behind the baseline was his average contact point with the ball, with the serve. And then today in Madrid, that was in Monte Carlo when he got a 6-2, 6-0 on him, a bagel. But today, contact point on average for Dominic Thiem on serve return against Rafa, 1 foot behind the baseline. So yeah, 3 feet, 2 feet, 1 foot. It doesn't sound like a big difference, but hey, it makes a big difference. He took the ball earlier. They also showed another graphic where it showed Rafa playing like 42%, I want to say, of his shots way behind the baseline. I mean, he just pushed him way back. Yeah, I know some people out there are going to say, oh, Rafa always gets way behind the baseline. That's usually a serve return tactic. He does play a lot of defense back there, but especially as Rafa's gotten older, he looks to finish, he looks to create more offense, and the way you do that is you get closer to the net.
Okay. Let's see where he was when he... he's, 3-4 feet beyond the serve.
So Rafa won only 11 of 32 points. That's a 34% conversion rate on his second serve. 34% win on second serve is very low, very bad. Not much more to say about that. I think that today I haven't read the ball good enough to be able to handle the situation, to put him in place where he don't feel comfortable. I was never good enough position to place the ball on the lines, open the courts. I wasn't putting myself in a position. It's difficult to harm a player like him because he's very powerful. He has a lot of strength. Here's where I wonder if the Spanish translation's a little off. He strikes the ball very hard, very violently. Did he say violently, or did he say something that translates a little different than that? When you receive that ball, it's very difficult to respond. So that's, there you go. That's from Rafa. Let's look at the highlights and see if we can find an example of what Rafa's talking about.
Produces an absolute masterclass.
There you go. There are your highlights. Unfortunately, that's all we have today. It's just the Rafa highlights. Don't want this to be an hour-long show. Final thing on Rafa. I was going to share this with you today, regardless of what happened, but it's even more relevant now that Rafa has lost. 2018 French. Oh, this is from CBSSports.com. The 2018 French Open odds picks. Red Hot tennis expert says Rafa primed for an upset. So they use a lot of betting odds in this this article. Novak Djokovic, Dominic Thiem, both 8-1 odds. Closest contenders, Roger Federer, who won in 2009, skipping. Duh. Does anyone besides Nadal have a serious shot? Renowned tennis bettor. Oh, he literally bets. He's a bettor. Sean Calvert thinks so, and you'll want to hear what he says given the streak that he's on. What kind of streak is he on, huh? Last month, Calvert called John Isner winning the Miami Open at a 100-1 odds. Ooh. A life-changing payout for those who followed Calvert's advice. In March, he nailed Juan Martín del Potro to win in Indian Wells at 10-1. An unparalleled tennis analyst, Calvert has been cashing huge payouts for 6 straight years. Some of his legendary calls include Stanislav and Manislav Wawrinka winning the 2014 Australian Open at 60-1 odds, Jack Sock winning last year's Paris Masters at 80-1 odds, and in last year's French Open, Calvert profited a whopping 16 units. I have no idea what that means. Now, Calvert has analyzed the latest 2018 French Open odds, locked in bets on 5 players. None of them is Nadal. They range from moderate to monumental long shots, including a rising star with 60-1 odds. Who is it? Why don't they say? We'll give one away. Calvert likes Dominic Thiem. 8-1 odds as a potential French Open winner. This story is from May 9th, so no one even knew that Dominic Thiem would score a very valuable third victory over Rafa. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong below, but would this be the second on clay or third on clay? I think he's got a victory on another surface, Dominic Thiem, over Rafa. Probably hard court, if I had to guess. All right, let's read some comments. And then we'll do the draw in Rome and some exciting first-round matches to look for, handpicked by Ollie Payton. Anderson did it. 10 times lost quarterfinals. Nailed it now. Can he do damage to Thiem? That's from Heike Niglas. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Dominic Thiem is probably feeling super right now.
Super happy, of course.
And maybe so super that he's going to go into that match and just blow Anderson away. My first initial thought on this was like, oh, wow, he needs 10 tries, 11, or is it 11? Whatever it is, 10 or 11 tries to get to a semifinal. That's not an accomplishment. It's embarrassing. But not really. The more you think about it, it's actually, it just goes to show that you got to keep trying and never give up on your dreams. So I'm all for it, Kevin Anderson. This is from Smanla Tundup. Hey, after Fed, you should not cover Nadal or Joker as the lead player for your show. I'm so sorry. We talked about Nadal for already like 10 or 15 minutes. It should be Denis Shapovalov. Joker or Nadal are nowhere near Fed's style of play. He just knocked countryman Raonic out. And he just knocked out Kyle Edmund. You know what? We saw some stories. I didn't cover them because I think I didn't even make a video that week where I saw the story, but I'm always keeping up with the tennis news, but I'm pretty sure it was Rafa. Comment below if I'm wrong. Rafa gave some clay court tips to Denis the Menace Shapovalov, and maybe he's taking it to heart. I gotta tell you, he was down a break very early in that first set against Edmund, and some of the shots he hit were just breathtaking. Like some of the one-handed backhands he hit. I remember he did one little combo where he put a big forehand right on the line and then hit behind Kyle Edmund with a backhand in the same spot right on the line again. It's like catching the edge of the line twice. It's just, you got to be a special player to go for those kind of shots, and it does smack of Roger Federer. Roger Federer, of course, one of those players back in the day when he was younger, even when he was losing a lot, everyone knew that this guy just goes for incredible shots even when he's not really in a position to try it. So is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Some players just make a ton of unforced errors. I think Shapovalov is going to figure it out, put it together more, so look forward to more results from him, of course. This is from Haider Raha. Hey, Matt, just getting a funny feeling that if Nadal goes into the French Open undefeated, he will meet someone who will catch fire and take him out, similar to what happened to Joker in 2015 when he ran into Wawrinka at the final. At this point, I'm not sure that will be, but that's my prediction. Nadal loses the French Open this year if he goes in undefeated before that. Well, you know what? All that's different now, because he ain't undefeated anymore. I think I almost choked. This is from Ahmad Atiyah. Good not hearing of Novak injuries. So what is holding him back? In due time, good results will follow as long as he is passionate. Well, Ahmad, I think a lot of people think right now that Novak is suffering from some major mental issues out there on the tennis court. And, I've played a ton of tennis in my life, and I can tell you, like, when you don't have the belief, it's so hard to get it back, especially if you're just going around and getting whooped up on by other players, especially players that everyone expects you to beat. And now, we're going through this cycle where it's going to get to a point where people are expecting Djokovic to lose. I've kind of been feeling like that a little bit. Part of me expects him, yeah, he's so great, he's going to get it back. But the other part of me thinks, like, well, not anytime soon, What's he going to do? Actually, the draw in Rome does look a little better. We're going to go to the draw in Rome. We got three more comments. This is from LSB. Good to have you back, Matt, but why have you chucked out all of your RF mugs? Brought it back just for you. Now, I didn't chuck any of them out. I just had a couple mugs that I'm fond of that I bring out to the show, and sometimes I have my little intellectual espresso teacup style setup, so, a little variety. You like variety, right? We liked Dennis Chapo. We liked the Swiss Maestro with all of his beautiful variety. Claire Gorman. We love Claire. Coffee break tennis. Yes, it would be good. I know Rafa's doing great, but it would be nice for him to at least have to do some work to win on clay. He's just strolling through. I see poor Nole lost again. Edmund played great, but that's more points lost. That's right. Remember, we pointed out that he had some points to defend here. He's got a lot of points, finalist points. I believe that's 600 points in Rome coming, luckily, draw a little bit better for him, but he might lose first round. Because here's the thing that we're going to go through in that Rome. There's no bye for Joker. Joker does not have his first round bye. Can you imagine that? I mean, all the top players have a bye at every tournament they go to except for the majors. Djokovic, going to Rome, no first round bye. I feel bad for the guy, too. And finally, this is a long one, but hey, I asked for it last week or on Monday this week. We talked about the uncertainty about the Madrid Open Masters. Is that tournament going to stay there? It sounds like this guy, Graphite 23, like that number 23, Michael Jordan's number, and most likely the number of majors that Roger will retire with. He gave us a long explanation of what's going on in Madrid. I'm guessing he lives in Madrid. Let's read it all. The situation is this. Municipal elections are coming up. Opposition to the mayor of Madrid uncovered a year ago that some irregularities, to put it nicely, have been committed in the accounting of the financing of the Mutua Madrid Open. Corruption accusations are being insinuated, and the opposition doesn't want the current city government to renew the contract before the election, which is kind of standard. A lot of times in politics, which we don't talk about much on the show because politics takes the fun out of everything. But a lot of times in politics, when one party could be, transitioning and another party taking over, they don't want to make big decisions last minute. Of course, sometimes they do it anyways. So that's an interesting point there. Let's continue. Meanwhile, the director, Sobanian Manola Santana, of course, great tennis player, Feli Lopez, show me those calves, want the mayor and her council to decide now. Yes! Since the contract ends in 2021, they want to be sure because, and this is a great point here, they want to be sure because switching venues in just 3 years is next to impossible. Plus, they believe they have the support of the current Madrid mayor, Manuela Carmena. She's under pressure from several groups to wait, so at the Mutua charity event, comment below if you know how to say that one. Sabonian and the company tried to make headlines with appeals to emotion to get the general public to support the continuation of the tournament. Again, going with this theme of reporters, mostly from the UK, not knowing how to translate the Spanish correctly, we run into another one right here. Thank you for pointing this out. Graphite23. Just comment your real name so I don't have to say graphite, because I don't, or at least explain what that means. At the charity event that they do right before the tournament, Sabonian and company tried to make headlines with appeals to the emotion to get the general public. Rafa, as you suspected, his statement loses something in translation. As I suspected, because nothing gets by me, even if I don't know how to read it. It's up to the city to decide. Remember, that was the quote that we had for Rafa. In the original Spanish, really should translate to something more like, and we're assuming that Graphite 23 speaks excellent Spanish here. If we lose the tournament, it'll be the mayor's fault, and we'll never get it back. Sounds a lot more decisive in his position regarding the tournament. He's clearly for it. There you go. Those were some of the best comments, but of course, no guarantee on that. I didn't read all of them. Comment below if you got any ideas on all the stuff we're talking about today, and if you catch me reporting with a bad translation, because the tennis media, they do that a lot. Oh, here's a tweet we will feature before we get into the stuff on the draw. Of course, we're not going to look at the whole draw today. Well, okay, we'll put it up there for you to look at, but I'm not going to painfully go through everything, because you know what? Ollie already did it for us. He extracted the goodness from the draw for us, much like the way I extracted this delicious coffee from the bean. Fed is busy blowing away the competition in the Benoit Paire Challenge. Son of a... Yeah, but you know what? I trimmed it up a little because I was sick of looking like Benoit Paire. All right, this is from Ollie. Best quote of the day from Rafa. Question: you tried to come back. The good news is you can rest. But how do you go to Roma? Meaning, like, what mental state do you show up to the next tournament in after this loss to Dominic Thiem? Rafa's response? By plane. Rafa's path, because that's what everyone cares about here. What's he got to do in Roma? Remember, if he wins in Roma, he will be number one again, because he lost in the quarters last year to Dominic Thiem in Roma, which is Rome. Rafa's path in Roma, first round by Djokovic, doesn't have one of those. Second round, Verdasco or Damir Zoomer could face Medvedev or Shapovalov. Quarterfinals, Dominic Thiem. Oh no! Semifinals, Dimitrov, yeah right. Isner, Djokovic, yeah right. Final, Alexander Sasha Zverev, or is it Misha Zverev? I don't know which one he's talking about. Or Juan Martín del Potro. Wouldn't we love to see that? So there you go. That's the potential path. Let's look at some projected Rome quarterfinals. Nadal versus Dominic Thiem, of course. Dimitrov versus Isner. Djokovic maybe could wiggle into that, but I mean, who's expecting Djokovic to do anything? Kevin Anderson and Cilic, Del Potro and Alexander Zverev are projected quarterfinals. And then here's some interesting matches that Ollie found in the draw. Djokovic versus Isner could be a potential round 3. That would be awesome. Fognini versus Monfils, round 1. Poor umpire indeed, Ollie. And all the interesting first round matchups for you from Ollie with love. Denis Shapovalov versus Tomas Berdych, first round. Of course, Fognini Monfils. Kei Nishikori, somebody corrected me. Can't remember who, sorry. Kei Nishikori versus Feli Lopez, show me those calves. Novak Djokovic versus Alexander the Dog Dolgopolov. Stanislav Wawrinka, who may be playing, versus Stevie Johnson. And David Ferrer versus Jack Sock. I would like to watch that match, and I really hope David Ferrer wins. And finally, let's just throw up the draw on the screen for those of you who want to see it with your own eyes. And as I look through this draw for myself with my own eyes, this is the first time I've seen it, I see one interesting thing here that Ollie missed. And that would be, of course, the first round matchup of Richard Gasquet versus Benoit Paire. That match, first round match in Rome. Here's the deal. If Benoit Paire wins, I will not shave. If Benoit Paire loses, I will totally clean shave. Peter Freeman, genius coach, greatest coach in the world. He wants me to shave. So feel free to go over to Crunch Time Coaching YouTube channel and comment on any video, because Pete will see it. He'll be alerted immediately when a comment pops up, and tell him what you feel about his idea, his command for me to shave. All right, well, there you go. Final article of the day, and we'll get out of here. Hit the music, Mr. Goat. Mr. Goat, where did he go? I think he's still upset about the fact that I didn't share his stories. Comment below if you'd like to hear Mr. Goat's stories on the next video. This is the final story for today. John McEnroe refuses $1 million to play a match against the Williams sister. A Williams sister. This is from the Big Cat, Luigi Gatto, over at tennisworldusa.org. Thank you, Big Cat, who writes a ton of articles over at tennisworldusa.org. McEnroe was recently offered an unexpected $1 million check by the current U.S. President Donald Trump. Note the word recently, asking him to face one of the Williams sisters, Serena or Venus, in a tennis match. McEnroe said that he declined the offer, but he didn't mention clearly as to when he had received that offer. Well, according to the Big Cat Luigi Gatto, it was recently. But then he says this. However, McEnroe stated the offer was made before Trump became U.S. president, which is like, a couple years ago. So, ain't that recent, huh? I was calling a match, and suddenly I get this envelope, and it's from Donald Trump, McEnroe said. He also explained his decision. It's never been something where I was like, I want to go play a woman in a match. Source, TMZ. So comment below. Would you watch that match? Who do you think would win? What kind of scoreline do you think we would see? And if you want to go deep, let's say, do you think McEnroe would win now as a 59-year-old against, doesn't work for us because Serena not anywhere near her best. How about McEnroe versus Serena 1998? Well, that's too easy. Anyways, thank you for watching Coffee Break Tennis. I hope you have a wonderful day. We will be back on Monday to talk more about Rome and, of course, to wrap up what the heck happened here. Comment below who you think will win. See ya!